Hi, this is Privateer Station, and today we're bringing you day 195 of Ukraine War Chronicles, a conversation between Olexiy Arestovych, advisor to the Office of the President of Ukraine, and Mark Feygin, Russian opposition journalist. Enjoy. Dear friends, good evening. Glad to see you all here. It is Tuesday, September 6th, 12 minutes past 10 Kiev time, and we're starting a stream, day 195 with Olexiy. Good evening, Olexiy. And Olexiy is in a jacket today. He is on the move. So today we have somewhat extraordinary circumstance, and we had to move our stream a bit. But that's what we have to deal with. Everybody who joined us tonight, please share links to that stream. This is important. Sorry for moving and shifting the dates and times, but it does depend upon your activity, how and clicking the like button, how do the YouTube algorithms promote that video. And of course, subscribe to Alexei's channel and to Mark's Feigin channel, and if you are listening to that in English, to the Privateer Station. You are on the road, right? So, continuing, right? I needed to somehow apologize before our viewers, so we do need to show the map, and I understand we do have some good news. Indeed, we do. Problem is that it is President's prerogative to announce them, and he's streaming at about the same time as we do on the TV, and I need to wait till he announces certain populated areas, and then we can name them. Well, everybody is with Balakleya. All the chats, all the news media are talking about Balakleya. So I know it's a stupid situation. I cannot name the name of the city, despite of us knowing it. I'll just be naming it the city, because until the president officially releases that data, I have no right to disclose that. So, okay, that city in the Kharkov region, something happened with it, right? With Putin's soldiers. Yeah, very, very bad thing happened to Putin's soldiers there. Can you describe it better? Can you find a way to convey if it is a complete fubar for them, or it's a small fubar-ish action? Oh yeah, this is a complete one. This is a definite complete fubar for that group of troops. Hang on, I'm still picking how to say that. So the problem that happened with them, that they ran very far east. So they ran near the city that we should not name. Oh, and even further to the east from that city. Very, very far out of the city. But brave Russian command is trying to recover the situation and add additional reserves there. But we have a bunch of surprises awaiting for them when they come. And a part of those Russian troops are already in prison. We captured them, and they're already drinking tea and relaxing from the war. And another big part will never have tea again. So, okay, tell me, other mobilized drafted people from DNR and so-called LNR? It's a mix. There are different ones. Okay, so yeah, I cannot name a couple more places that are occupied there, and officially they were not named, so we're waiting. So tell me, is this a logical continuation of what we discussed before, that there are surprises on this front, not only in the south, but also in the east? Oh yeah, surprises are everywhere, and probably the only part of the front where surprises differ, where we just continue shelling them, but there is no general movement of the front line, it is Zaporozhye. But during the last day, we had 8 successful hits on the on warehouses and ammo, and 6 operating commands posts, and including one of them of the core level command outpost. 6 strikes during 24 hours on the command posts, that's a lot. We also took a pontoon bridge out today, 8 air defense positions. This is basically our daily news now. One can only imagine the speed that Russian group will be folding at. They look as they're resisting, but they're basically at the last second of pushing that big stone up the mountain, and it's about to start rolling back and roll over them. So tell me, all this happens even considering that these new detachments that arrived, that Third Corps and the like, so it did not change any weather, right? It did change some things. It allowed them to reinforce a couple locations and even play Counter-Strike there. But we do not see them as a separate unit being thrown into the fray. We only see them being added to other detachments. And understand, Mark, Third Corps is guys without any battle experience, so it is difficult to throw them as a separate unit into the heavy fighting of a kind that we have here right now. So, yeah, no, generally they do not change the situation on the front. They also continued attacking us. They continued shelling Kharkov and Nikolaev and Chernigov and Sumsky region, including the use of their aviation. We are countering. I had to mention that they did attack us because people need to know that we do track that. We do remember about them. And we need them to hold strong. But in general, their initiative is definitely slacking. The only area where Russian troops are somewhat trying to advance is near Bakhmut. Every other part of the front line is either completely static or they're rolling back. So that city that cannot be named, does it mean that Izum is next? We can say that Izum is definitely in our reach now. We're definitely threatening Izum now. But another interesting point is that upon capturing of that location that we cannot name, we actually can reach Kupinsk, which is the biggest logistical center for them. They're supplying the whole Eastern Front through Kupinsk. So the fact that we are controlling that logistics hub with our fire now, that creates a lot of difficulties for Putin's troops. In some essence, it's a repeat of 1942. Again, for the history buffs. And we'll see what they do back. There'll probably be a counter attempt and where they'll hit. But the city that we do not name, we captured in a day with one hit. It is a big success. One should remember that Russian counterparts were taking that city, not that city, but the city of that size, over weeks. So wait, that hit that happened there, did they just run? What happened there? How come that city, the town, they occupied it so fast? We used a tactic that I cannot really speak about right now. They know our tactics. Our foe knows how we do that, but I have to be creative with my words here to not really disclose details of it. But basically, we used something that they were not ready for, and they just did not expect that, so they fled. So is Zelensky live? Is he talking? Guys who are watching us live, can you please write it in chat and put the name of that town so we can start calling it? Okay, in the meantime, besides Vysokopolye that we can name, that was in the media. There are other villages occupied today. Yeah, we acknowledged Novovoznесенskoye to the southeast from Velikopolia. Motion along the road that way. You can see it's at 1 or 2 o'clock on this map. We're showing the map, the region of Vysokopolia. Yeah, Vysokopolia. Sorry, I called it Velikopolia. So Vysokopolia is there, and then there is Novovoznесенsk that is also liberated today. That is what officially announced. All right, and what is going on near Kherson? We are attacking them, we're shelling them with artillery and our troops. We destroyed their pontoon bridge completely. They tried to build it today and we just took it out. On the military language, this is basically called destruction of the enemy's infrastructure. We're hitting the same targets, warehouses, forward operating command bases, with a more emphasis on command bases. So now we're destroying their command and communication structure. So going here, that tactic that you used in the east, why cannot use that in the area near Kherson? A very different location, very different order of troops. In Kherson, there's about 20,000 of them packed to a relatively small town. And there are not too many natural areas to hide or maneuver in that area. It's steppe. You can see everything from far away. Near the town that we cannot name, however, there's a lot of forest, there are a lot of ravines, there are a lot of other options for troops to hide and move and conceal their movement. The war theater is huge. It's 1,500 miles of the front, and it's very diverse. So for military professionals, the experience of that war will be very interesting. That same army on different theaters is using very different tactics. All right. Looking at the news feed, very interesting mentions here. Have you heard anything about Moscow Command thinking about putting Kadyrov people and his detachments behind their front lines? Yes, we got that information. There is a bunch of these guys now being sent to different parts of our front to, how should I put that? To support the morale of Russian army by providing an armed presence behind their backs. So, what can that lead in perspective? What can that lead to? Oh, there'll be a firefights, similar like Kadyrov and Buryats people fought in Kherson region. It is the stupidest idea to use people with guns against other people with guns to make them fight. One needs to have a Stalin-like regime behind your back, but Putin's regime is not Stalin regime. And this is another sign that Putin regime is not doing well. This is the same thing as they're talking about buying UAVs from Iran or artillery from North Korea, because Putin's superpower all of a sudden needs to start buying things and supplies from two sanctioned, heavily sanctioned countries. Does the information pan out? Was it confirmed? About, let's say, Iran and their UAVs. Do you have them in Ukraine? According to Washington Post data, we do. Well, that's Washington Post, right? What about Ukraine? Do you have your own statements and confirmations? There was not an official release, so I cannot confirm that. Can that lead to any consequences around Iran. Well, given how defiantly they refuse that they sold anything to Putin's regime on all the media and stages that they have access to, they're claiming that they have not shipped anything. They're actually quoting me in some of their interviews when I said that they might be supplying. And I used that special wording without full confirmation, but their reaction was very sharp. So that means that they are indeed afraid of consequences. Interesting. We have 240,000 people watching us live. Over 81,000 clicked the like button. We're a little discombobulated stream today, but our audience is kind of used to have us at a certain time. I think some of them are waiting for us before going to sleep, so we should not be faltering their expectations. Well, I hope they understand that I'm in somewhat extraordinary circumstances, moving around in the fields. And exactly, that is why we're asking for their forgiveness and ask them to share the streams and links. This is the only way to make it most available for the viewers. If you are sharing links in your social media, if you are clicking the like button, that helps that video to get promoted and be visible to more YouTubers. So people were talking about that, and they were expecting some motion from Ukraine, and all of a sudden, when everybody was already somewhat calm and unsuspecting of the developments on the Eastern Front, did something happen there? Did you get the trained reserves? Did you finally figure out how to use that new tactic? It speaks about two different things. One, we would never have started our offensive until Russian capabilities are exhausted. Remember when we talked about when does that happen? And I said that we will start our motion when our foe will be tired. So when contractor Wagner people starting to get conscripts from DNR and LNR into their ranks, that tells that they cannot attract anybody with their money. So they're down at the bottom of the barrel. And second is that our military was getting stronger and stronger. So when these two graphs met, their decline and our increase, that is what's happening. And I think this is not the end of it. This is to be continued. An interesting point is that right now, in two different theaters of that campaign, we are doing active operations. East is very different from the south, and in both locations, in both fronts, we are pushing actively, and Russian command is somewhat caught unexpected. And why are we doing that in two different places? Well, we holding them from maneuvering with their own resources, so they're forced to keep effort on both fronts and look for resources elsewhere if they have it. But one can already say who's got the initiative in this war. Can the Russian command take it from us now? I do not believe so. I do not believe they will ever have strategic initiative in this war campaign again. They had it in Lysychansk, then there was pause, and then they started on the 10th a new offensive, at least formally declared, and they totally failed. And now with what's developing on the front, they definitely have no resource or ability to continue offensive. They're hanging by the thread. They don't have much supplies. Maybe they can do something. Maybe they can take reserves from everywhere else, and they can slow us somewhat. But the general situation is not in their favor. and it will be getting worse for them. All right. So the next question is, remember that Zelensky wanted to get to some borders before winter comes. That we need to stabilize the situation before the cold months arrive. So, to the cold months is what? Half of September, October, maybe a little bit of November. So, how far can you go before the cold? We can probably destroy the group on the right bank near Kherson. This is possible. Impossible? No. This is possible to change situation in the south, yes. You can also change and push more on the east. But for me, I have two big questions in the current information agenda. One is, you think everybody will be severely frozen in winter? I don't believe that. And second is why people think we cannot do military operations during the cold. You think you can? Well, we have experience. Remember the Baltsev operation? We've done it in the coldest months, January, February. And what, we're not fighting in winter? Of course we are. The whole 8 years of this conflict, war never subsided during winter. Okay, so on the east, for example, you could probably push them further out from the border near Kharkov and maybe straighten the front line so much. I don't know if Izium at some point, if Ukraine takes it back, Ukraine can prevent any perspective for Russian troops to even try attacking Bakhmut, Slavyansk and Kramatorsk. Well, that perspective is already becoming phantom for Russian troops. Bakhmut is a very iffy story for them. They definitely, in short term, will lose their focus on Bakhmut. As for the other parts, we'll see, but I would say that the main task that Putin stated in front of them, to capture Donetsk region, that'll be unobtainium for the current troops. 6 weeks in the current state of war is very long term, so we'll see what happens. Also depends upon rains. If we get a lot of rain, it might strain the operation. It will not cancel it, but it'll make it difficult. Every war is done around the roads. The illusion that tanks can go and cross fields, it's an illusion. Maybe a few tanks can, but en masse, you still need roads. So all these offensives, they do happen around the roads. And, it's still doable. Even look at the Second World War. Wehrmacht could conduct the operation during winter months, so modern-day armies can, of course, do that. There is another matter here to consider. Offensive eats supplies many times faster than defense. So it depends. It depends how far we go. We definitely want to liberate Kherson. Well, east is a bit different. East is a longer story. But here on the south, it's obvious we'll clear the right bank of the river and capture Kherson. The east will need to see how it unfolds. There are different options for the evolution of the front there. So south is more of a priority. I would not say it is a priority. I would say it's more obvious. The targets on the south are more obvious. The main news for today is that there is a second operative direction for our offensive. Before that, it was just south. Now we also have east. where we'll be liberating towns and villages that we probably will not be able to name immediately, and we'll be naming them a few days after. So we have a stream tomorrow, right? Tomorrow the news will probably break out. Yeah, we can talk then with actual names, and we maybe can provide more details about the numbers captured, how far did we progress, and I need to ask our viewers that we do need at least a day, depending upon the situation. We need to give about 24 hours after a significant change in circumstance, and significant changes may take 2-3 days to unfold. So, at some points, we'll be not naming names, we'll be just indicating the areas where things are happening, just trying to do no harm. Alright, I'm not seeing any messages from the Russian side, and very likely they will not confirm, although you can see that in their telegrams, and they'll probably be doing a counter-strike there, and they're hoping to take it back or improve their current situation. So that's military science, there's no secret here. But until then, they'd prefer to say probably we repelled Ukrainian offensive and pushed them back. I don't think they're ready to acknowledge such a defeat. Even bloggers and correspondents on their side are not ready to take it. It's just in the chat that their people are asking, where the heck are you guys? Why did you withdraw? And there is a lot of panic. It's interesting. I'm following the comments on the Russian side. It seems like the propagandists are using the same set of phrases, and yeah, it's really people asking questions. All the official people will be quiet for a few days, because to acknowledge the loss of a town, not a small one, that's a big step. So that basically poses a lot of questions that they cannot answer yet. Why do you have thousands and tens of thousands killed, and you wasted a couple months taking smaller towns, but here you lost a comparable size one overnight? And why do Ukraine troops do that, and why can't you? Yeah, that's interesting. Maybe they'll execute somebody over that. Probably. Okay, there's another question we want to address. We finally have that International Atomic Commission statement, and Russia is commenting on that, saying that that statement does not point finger at Russian Federation for shelling the station, and Russia is saying that, see, you cannot. They have not stated that Russia is the one destroying the infrastructure. So that's what Russian representative at the United Nations is saying, that because they're not named as the destructor, this is Ukraine that's doing all the damage. And they're stating that they're trying to reach some agreement that Ukraine would not do any active military operations in the direction of Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. But they're trying to play it low to lowball that statement and to say that the situation is not too dire. For me, I think this statement is a bit more optimistic than I expected. I expected it to be more pro-Moscow, but they actually did outline the actual threat, and they said that the reason for any threat is the presence of Russian troops in the area. They confirmed the presence of weapon systems and different kinds of ammo and weaponry in the buildings, that personnel is intimidated by the occupants, and the best path forward is to demilitarization of the power facility. and withdrawal of Russian troops from the territory. And they did mention that it is a dangerous practice to try to switch supply lines to the station from the station, which is very inadequately performed. So it looks like they did touch on the question that the energy may be stolen. Yeah, and people are essentially being slaves to the occupants. Yeah, they did essentially touch that. So station is occupied, personnel is under pressure, military activity in the area. This is a good set of accusations. A very nice package for Hague Tribunal, I think. Here, I think International Nuclear Atomic Commission can be commended for that statement. I can already see the Telegram channels are commenting our show. Interesting. Okay. So, yeah, I was glad to read what I've read in it. That's good enough for execution of Rosatom, Russian nuclear, with the military together, with a behavior like that. So there was a news about ministers of energy of the European Union countries can get to agreement about the corridor and the ceiling for the energy prices for Russian energy. So this is that corridor of pricing that United States with G7 is promoting, is pushing. So it seems like Europeans are on board and they're trying to create a ceiling for Russian energy sources that are already in decline supply to Europe. So maybe they could put $200-300 per cubic meter. And do you think it'll never reach those 2,000 that Russians were hoping for? Yeah, I think it is real. They're trying to provide their certain price security and energy security, but every corridor is designed to dampen the fluctuations and provide some stability to the market and also take away Russian chance at super profits on that crisis. So Europe is trying to protect itself on the background of crazy Russian politics that are burning 10 million cubic meters daily to not just supply that to Europe. Yeah, Russia is still on the blackmail train, right? Yeah, they're still blackmailing everybody. So Europe is thinking about countermeasures. Yeah, basically the old one, an eye for an eye. If you touch mine, you'll not find yours. But I would say the main thing is that other fluctuations on the market that Kremlin could do by other agreements or other conflicts or something, they're trying to cull with that price corridor. And G7, not just Europe and the West, they're trying to provide some predictability, and predictability allows them to do better planning. So they're trying to prevent the world chessboard to be shaken too much. It's predictability. Because they're basically continuing the planned operation on what I would call a destruction of Putin's regime. Okay, yeah, that matters. We have a next question. Biden today, and they made a very firm statement. We will not consider Russia to be a terrorist state or a state sponsor of terrorism. We will not include them on that list, and that was put in certain hard terms that do not allow discussion. At the same time, Zelensky talked to Nancy Pelosi today, and a result of that conversation was that they're hoping that Congress will come to a different conclusion. I think we touched upon that a couple months ago. This is due to special relations with China and India, who are using that story and current situations, and are definitely dependent upon Russian energy and Russian supplies, and also are always facing a strategic choice between Russia or the West. And such a decision could definitely put several 100 million people on the border of their ability to survive if the energy prices jump. So India would consider that to be definitely a threatening move. And it's not because they don't think Putin is a murderer, it's more about can we risk several tens of millions of people in India and China? And Americans calculated that and gauged pro and con. And I think it's just here in Ukraine we have some people who like to quarrel with everybody else, and they, for example, try to quarrel with everybody, and they don't want to see the difference between Putin's troops fighting against them and Putin's regime and Russians in general. So, unlike me pushing the difference here in our streams, there are people who do not differentiate. And I like that Biden has to understand that there's a difference between Iran and Iranian people, between China and Chinese people, between India and Indian people. And, you know, a lot of civilized countries, they are either forced or have to understand the difference. So I think these sanctions, that acknowledgement of Russia as a terrorist state would blow back much heavier on India and China. So they're not ready to go that way yet. But acknowledgement of that situation, that United States will not call Russia a terrorist state, doesn't mean that the US is not supporting Ukraine to get rid of Putin's regime. Interesting. We'll see how this situation unfolds. I know that the lower chamber can take a special, Congress of the United States can take a special position on this question. Yeah, they can try to force that. Then also on the background of looming November elections, at least we see the position of US administration right now. And it's rather articulated. Yep. It's not that they're trying to play with Putin or somehow save his face. No, it's definitely not that. Yeah, White House was stating that acknowledging Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism may harm Ukraine. So quoting Karine Jean-Pierre, she did say that acknowledging Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism can lead to more harm for Ukraine and create additional hurdles for humanitarian support. For example, according to humanitarian experts and organizations we discussed it with, it can limit our capability to supply humanitarian aid to different parts of Ukraine, and also can affect grain contract and grain supply, and might also disrupt other conditions and efforts leading to Putin's responsibility for the current war. So yeah, this will shake the situation. They likely will lose the support of countries who will suffer from secondary sanctions, and that means that will weaken support of United Nations, weaken humanitarian support. So they probably looked at the position of these countries, weighed pro and cons, and decided that it is not worth it, that statement, that acknowledgement. So they're still holding Putin accountable for that. You know, he can still be crushed even without that status. Hitler was crushed without acknowledging Germany to be a state sponsor of terrorism. Oh, interesting. I see in the chat that special battalion from Putin's regime was completely destroyed in that city we don't name. Oh yeah, Mark, a lot of people will never come out of that town. A lot of those Putin's fighters are gone. But we'll talk about details later. Okay, so we'll let you go until tomorrow. Nebenza, their rep in the United Nations, again says that this is fake, that Russia is buying anything from North Korea. You know, yeah, it could be. It's a difficult one. Kim could have given them condition that under no circumstance to acknowledge that they bought anything from North Korea. So, yeah, there are different. We know that Russia turned to Koreans. Yeah, that was confirmed. But whether Koreans are giving them anything, that is still a secret. Still unknown.
Не точно, но близко по смыслу, что бонусы, которые мы выбивали по зерновому соглашению, гады не дают нам.
However, one of the representatives about the grain contract actually talked today from the Agriculture Commission of Russia, said that they're not getting bonuses that they were aiming for in their grain contract about supplying their grain or stolen grain from Ukraine. So they're upset that they're not getting enough profits, and the situation is not in their favor on that front. Yeah, I just did want to address that Iran UAVs and North Korean artillery. I've seen a lot of media repeating these statements and pointing fingers at certain events. Well, Mark, for me, it's important what the Central Command. The moment they acknowledge that we got them, to confirm this, I will speak to that. At the moment, I can't. Okay, so we have over 300,000, 350,000 watching us live. Please share links. Your likes will help us to promote that stream and to heat it up to YouTube tops. So it will be more recommended. And of course, subscribe to Feigin Live. We are over 1.75 million viewers, subscribers, and also to Olexiy's channel. And if you are watching that in English or listening to that in English, subscribe to the privateer station. And our charity project, Feygin and Arestovych, in the description of the video, there are links to that, links to European and American stores. And please continue buying merchandise. There are mugs, not just t-shirts, so here it is. All the proceeds from that are being sent to help the victims of this war. Some pretty cool designs here. Alright, so don't be shy. Buy what you like. You like it, we'll like it. People will appreciate your help. See you tomorrow, Olexiy. Hopefully tomorrow it will be sharp 10 Kiev time. So, okay, we'll prepare for tomorrow's stream. And we'll discuss in more details. Goodbye, everybody.
Счастливо.